Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, and welcome everybody. Welcome in to the Buddhist Biohacker 2021. We had our first episode of the year last week with Satyam, which was so fabulous. And we are here today with the incredible and beautiful and wonderful Julie Hoyle. Welcome back, Julie.
Lisa, you're freezing. I don't know whether
Oh
I'm
no.
freezing too.
Oh no.
Yes.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
I can. I can. So I was just saying, welcome to the show and welcome in to everybody who's joining and watching in the live. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Yeah, there's still like a delay between each word. It's strange. I don't know what's happening.
It is strange. I'm going to open my door and see if it's my Wi-Fi. So go ahead and talk and we'll see if this works.
Okay, can you hear me well enough now?
Yes.
There's
Yes.
no delay.
No.
Yes? Okay, cool.
Yes.
So, okay, good. So, as I'm really thrilled to be here because it's my favorite thing to do, to be with you and to share. It's really sacred space. So thank you, Lisa, so much. And thank you to all those of you who are joining live. It's really awesome. And, I would like to say before we get started that, the whole kind of point of this is to create community and to remind you to please participate. So feel free as we go through the session, questions or post some shares or whatever you'd like to do, whatever feels right for you, so that you can be included in the conversation, because this is not just about Lisa and I having a discussion about keeping it real. The community having a discussion about what it means to keep it real. And what landed in me this afternoon was to start with a really beautiful story that I heard, I think it was about 10 or 15 years ago. And it's with respect to Mother Teresa. And the story is like this. When she first came to the US, which is, many years ago, she came with a group of sisters, the Sisters of Charity. And the goal was, I think she landed in New York, which is where she started, and the help people struggling who were living on the streets, who didn't have money, didn't have food, and really didn't have anybody in their lives to support them. So they would go around and essentially just go and, embrace people in the streets, speak to them, offer them some food, listen to their stories, and essentially give them a big loving embrace and give them a gift of recognition. So they did that for some time, and then they raised funds, and then they were able to establish where they, do this consistently. So several months after they had started to do the work, Mother Teresa was interviewed on one of the channels in the US, TV channels. Which channel it was, I don't recall now, but the interviewer was saying, asking her details, and she was sharing the details. And then to her, well, you've done work in India for many years, haven't you, in Calcutta and other cities? And she said, yes. And the interviewer said, so how do you compare to the US? It's a lot worse in India than it is in the US. And Mother Teresa said, no, it isn't worse in India. She said, it's a lot worse because in India, there's more physical poverty. In the US, there's much more spiritual poverty.
Mm.
And she said that really was what she and the Sisters of Charity were providing to the people that were on the street. That loving care, that prayer work, the energy work, embracing them, hearing those people's story, and then giving something to connect with and to hold on to during these really, really difficult times. And in the same, she also said, you find yourself on the street, she said, don't put yourself there, but if you find yourself on the street, accept, learn the lesson, and look at what your call to action is. What are you being called to? So I'm sharing both of these stories about Mother Teresa, which to me were really profound stories, speak so much to our need, our spiritual need, especially during very difficult and challenging circumstances, whether we're on the street or we found ourselves becoming unemployed, or whatever the story is, especially today with to what's happening. The real work and the real point about keeping it real is to accept where we are, accept what's happening, and then really to do the work of looking at what are we being called to with respect to our call to action, what are we being taught, and what is our responsibility. And around, what isn't ours, you know what I mean? Because it's really easy, especially in this sort of the political climate currently, to get caught in all the drama and expend, endless energy and vitality, either worrying or complaining sides, or getting engaged in the activities that are really not only non-productive, they're also adding fuel to the fire, and they're not helping any side. So the kind of the starting point or question that I'd love to throw out to people who are listening on the live is, what do you do as a practice be able to raise your perspective and to see either the conditions of your own life from the highest place, or the conditions of what is happening in the world from the highest place? What day-to-day practice, and what do you to remember to come back to center and not get pulled into this kind of never-ending drama, especially given what we're finding now and the place we're in now. So I'd love to hear that. I can share my own practices and I can speak about that, and I can give simple pointers to people for other simple practices. But I would love, and maybe you'd like to start, Lisa, with what you do to and obviously this isn't about spiritual bypassing, because we know what that looks like, right? We've heard a lot about that sort of denying what's happening in the world by doing the practices. This is about connecting to source, and then in that connection, hearing what our personal and individual call to action is with respect to sharing healing energy, or maybe helping with charity, or maybe helping us be involved in fundraisers, or whatever the call to action is, right?
Yeah.
But the starting point really has to be coming into your heart space, coming into source, connecting in, listening in, rather than kind of getting pulled out into the drama. And this is our really big call to everybody in 2021. So I'd love to hear what you have to say about what you do, Lisa, when you feel
Oh,
like.
God. Well, first off, I love those stories. And there's a few things you brought up that I think are so important. And the accepting where we are is a big one. And so when you talk about practices, I've spent this past week and weekend on hours and hours of phone calls.
Hold on, sorry, Lisa.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Again. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, our connection is not so great today. I'm not sure what's going on either. Can you hear me now?
I'm he- I'm hearing every other word is what's saying.
Oh, geez. Um, Let me see what I can do about that. I don't know what to do about that. Let me see. Should we go out and try to come back in?
We could.
Maybe we should. It's the energy. You know that. It's the energy. All right, hang tight, everybody. We're going to try to fix our connection. So hang tight
Oh
and
wait,
we'll be
that's
back.
hold on. Hold
Is
on,
that
that was
better?
sounding better. Yeah, it was sounding better.
Okay. Let's see how
Try it
this
again.
goes.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was sounding better for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'll talk and see how this goes, but um all I was sharing was I have been on hundreds of phone calls, I feel like, in the last week with everything that's happening in the US. And oh my gosh, there's so much information flying around. And so when you talk about practices, the practice for me is you have all of these conversations processing things, processing what you think and what you feel, what that person thinks and feels, what we think is going to happen, looking at clairvoyantly, all those things. But I always go back into my heart space. So for me, the biggest practice right now is
So-
to actually,
Sorry.
this okay. Is
Yeah,
it
sorry,
cutting off?
Lisa. You cutting in and yeah, cutting in and out again. So maybe we should
Yeah, let's go
come back
out and come back
in.
in. Hang tight, everybody. We're going
Okay.
to go out and come in. Okay.
Okay.